6. Puck still loose. Nosek keeps it moving. The NHL's all-time win record now belongs to these Boston Bruins. They win their 63rd game of the season. 63, 12, and 5, and still 2 games on the schedule for the 22-23 Bruins.
Just remarkable.
"20 seconds remaining. The Golden Knights start to celebrate on their pitch. The silver trophy to the Golden Knights.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Stanley Cup!
What the puck is going on?
What the puck is going on for this Saturday, February the 17th, 2024, as we indulge in a full slate of NHL hockey for this blistery, cold February mid-Atlantic morning here on the East Coast. We are broadcasting live from the Chicks Beach Studios here on Deep End Broadcasting. I am Stephen Murray. Nephew Dave out of the loop today, so I'll have to bring you home with everything on the NHL slate here on What the Puck is Going On, which is our focus, our Saturday show every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time as we take a look at the NHL. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings first. We'll get you up to date with everything in that regard. Is it too soon to start talking playoffs? Probably not. We are through the All-Star break, and we will be heading home down the stretch. Figure we have the playoffs starting sometime in April, so maybe about a two full months here, basically, of NHL regular season hockey that we need to navigate through. All right, so my one standings page is not working so great here, so let's see if we can get another one. As the NHL website is down. Yep, there we go. We'll go ahead and pop up the standings on this one, and we'll go by the division. Okay, in the Eastern Conference, we'll start with the Atlantic. How about this? Florida has now rallied to a tie on top of the first place. Have rallied to a tie first place Boston here in the Atlantic. Both of these teams now with 74 points. The Bruins losers of 3 in a row since we last bring you the show, and the Panthers have now won 4 in a row. So streaking hot are the Panthers, now tied for first place, 8-2 in their last 10. Also gaining a little bit of ground on the Bruins are the Lightning and the Maple Leafs. Both of these teams 7-3 in their last 10. Detroit has hit a 2-game losing skid. Montreal, Buffalo, and the Senators round out that division. But now a very, very neck-and-neck 2-horse race on top with Florida and Boston. In the Metro, the Rangers are trying to pull away from everybody. Winners of 6 in a row, 73 points total. But the Hurricanes still hanging in there, 67 points, 6 points back of them. 5-1 winners are the Hurricanes last night in Arizona. They scored right off the bat, I think 16 seconds into the game, as I had that game on for a little bit. And Carolina rolls to victory in Arizona, and they stay pretty much white hot, 7-3 their last 10. Philadelphia is in third place with 65 points, so not a bad season here for the Flyers. They've done pretty nice considering what they've been able to put out their last few seasons. They've been very much a good NHL hockey team so far here in 2023, 2024. The Devils They've been trying to right the ship, but they've been right around 500 hockey. The Islanders not really improving on their poor play, losers of 2 in a row. The Penguins, 500 in their last 10. Capitals and Blue Jackets, both losers of 2 in a row, and just a couple of wins each here. Really, 3 wins for Columbus in their last 10. The Caps just with 2 wins in their last 10. In the Western Conference, let's take a look at that, as now Dallas has proclaimed themselves to be the hot team here, winners of 3 in a row, and probably the most separation we've seen all season in the Central, with the Stars 4 points above Colorado, who have 70 points. Winnipeg sits right behind them. They've been 500 players here in their last 10. The St. Louis Blues have been hot. Nephew Dave said take a look out for them. They are 8-2 in their last 10 overall. The Predators 3-6-1 in their last 10, so they've been struggling a little bit. They are in 5th place. Minnesota, they've been hot, winners of 4 in a row. And then how about Arizona and Chicago? Both have lost 8 in a row now. So we really have some demonstrative streaks here in the NHL here in the last few weeks and coming out of the All-Star break. Vancouver, they've won 3 in a row. They sit on top of the Pacific. Right behind them, they have 80 points, so they are clear ahead of everyone. 68 points for the Knights in second place, 63 points for Edmonton. Both of these teams have been hot, as have Vancouver, but unable to gain any ground are the Knights and Oilers, with the Canucks just playing very, very well. The best story at the NHL as far as teams you're not really expecting to be at the top. Vancouver's done fantastic all season long, as they are your point leaders here in the NHL. Los Angeles will be in 4th place. Seattle in 5th place. Calgary, they have lost 2 in a row in 6th. And then 500 hockey basically for Anaheim and the Sharks to round out the Pacific Division. All right, so let's take a look real quick again at the streaks we have going. Again, Florida, red hot, winners of 4 in a row. Lightning have won 3 in a row. Maple Leafs with 2 in a row. The Rangers, 6 in a row. So they are red hot. Again, 3 in a row winners for Dallas. 4 in a row wins for Minnesota. 3 in a row wins for Vancouver. So you have a bunch of teams really hot. We'll see if we can take advantage of them today. The cold teams are Arizona and Chicago. Both losers of 8 in a row. And after that, it's really somewhat inconsistent. The Bruins, losers of 3 in a row, but you hard-pressed to really try to throw them into any kind of penalty situation. Of course, off the ice with them, Milan Lucic had his case dismissed, but he will remain indefinitely suspended by the Bruins, as those legal issues surely may not be over yet for him. Let's see. Besides that, everyone is fairly inconsistent. 500 hockey. Let's look at the higher scoring teams right now. Let's see. So Vancouver scored 203, and they've allowed 142. So those are about the extreme as far as goals scored and goals allowed. So your median is going to be somewhere in the upper 160s. Is that about right? Yeah, mid 160s for goals scored, mid 160s for goals allowed is basically your benchmark. So the higher scoring teams are right now Florida, the Bruins, the Lightning have scored a lot, Detroit and Toronto both on top of that list. Ottawa, they've scored a decent amount at 172. You figure that's about the average. The Devils have scored 177. Rangers have scored a lot of goals, 179. 205 goals each for Dallas and Colorado. And then it drops off in that division. 203 goals for Vancouver, as we mentioned. The Knights in Edmonton above average, 172 and 177, respectively. The teams who have allowed a lot of goals. Well, let's take a look at the teams who've not scored. That would be San Jose, the extreme low, Chicago, the extreme low, Arizona struggling in that regard, Anaheim struggling in that regard, Seattle struggling in that regard, Columbus, the Capitals, both lacking goals, Pittsburgh, the Islanders on the lower side of things as well. Buffalo Sabres, Montreal kind of on the lower side as well. Both of those teams at 155, 154 scored. The teams that have allowed the most, Tampa Bay 180, Detroit 176. Montreal allows a ton of goals, 194. New Jersey has allowed a ton at 182. Nashville's allowed a decent amount at 177, which is surprising with Saros. Colorado 178 they've allowed. Anaheim 181 and San Jose 203 goals allowed by them. The teams who have allowed the least amount of goals, we talked about Vancouver being that, 142 just allowed by them. Golden Knights have just allowed 146, Edmonton 144, the Kings 140. So all those teams very good defensively. The Jets have only allowed 117. That's actually going to be your low water mark. They made a fantastic Hellebuck in net there. Other teams have not allowed a lot. Pittsburgh's a dead under team. They're about as under as you can get in that regard. The Rangers have only allowed 151. Shesterkin can be thanked for a good portion of that. The Bruins and Panthers, both very, very sound defensively. They've not allowed a lot of goals either. Okay, so there we are with your standings. And if we look at the conference right now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right now, the benchmark would be right at Detroit with 60 points. That gets you into the playoffs. And they would be your number 8. Trailing behind them would be the Devils with 58, Islanders with 57, Pittsburgh with 55. Even the Capitals with just 54 goals still alive in the wild card somehow. A lot of overtime losses for the Capitals will help their cause. All right, in the Western Conference, Vancouver again on top there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Blues would be your 8th spot right now with 60 points. And then 4 teams with 56 or 55 points we'll consider in the mix with the Predators, Kraken, Wild, and the Flames. On the injury report, and we got to imagine this has to be getting worse. But, you know, at this point last year, at least when we did our last show, injuries were just not nearly as bad as they were last season. Arizona continues to be banged up a little bit. Chicago has their fair share of injuries, but seemingly getting better. Colorado is better off than what they were last year for sure. Florida extremely healthy. Detroit very healthy. Kings healthy. Montreal somewhat banged up, but nothing like last year when they had about a dozen players on the injured list at a time. New Jersey, not too bad. Islanders, a couple of injuries. Philly, 5. San Jose, a little bit. Toronto's probably your most banged up team from what I've seen right now. Until I see Vegas. Vegas is going to be your most banged up team overall. So again, injury is just not really that big of a concern. Really, your 2 most banged up teams are Vegas and I just mentioned them. Vegas and Toronto. All right, and after that, it's really not as bad. Montreal a little bit. Chicago, they seem to be banged up pretty bad, but they get Bedard back for them. And Arizona is another team to watch out for who's banged up. All right, let's get to the slate. We have a full slate of NHL games scattered throughout the day. All right, so the first early game start for today is a good one. The Kings and the Bruins. The Bruins looking to get right. The Kings, after being phenomenal for the first part of the season, have leveled off. So a come correct game and somewhat of an early start here for Boston and Los Angeles. Minus 152 for Boston, over under 5.5. You have to imagine, and the problem with our show is we never have goalies listed this early in the morning. But you have to imagine this is just a good spot for Boston. It's a body clock game for the Kings in some respect here, where it's just an early to rise scenario for them with their jet lagness maybe at this point of the trip. So I would lean on Boston to minus 152 here. They were very good for us here a couple weeks back on this early start. If you want to take them at plus 105 in regulation, I think that's fine here. But I would fully expect the Bruins to bounce back against the Kings this afternoon. 12:40 face-off in Boston. Next game, 3:10 Eastern. We have a couple of 3 o'clock games. And after that, we really have scattered starts either 1 or 2 hours apart. So all these games stagger throughout the day, which is going to make it a lot of fun. Ottawa and Chicago. Ottawa, Nephew Dave said watch out for them a little bit because they are a little feisty here. And they are in their last 10, 6-2-2 as a bottom feeder in the Atlantic. And they'll get Chicago, who's been having a rough. Losers of 8 in a row, 1-8-1 in their last 10. So is this a good spot for Ottawa? You would think so. They are a heavy favorite, though. Minus 196 for a last place team to be a favorite on the road against another last place team seems a little bit extreme to me. So at the end of the day, this will be a no play. But just interesting to see how the Senators are that big of a favorite over the Blackhawks. Both have been generally poor overall, but Ottawa scrappy as of late. Ottawa's team goals is over 3.5. Chicago's is just over 2.5. Let's see. The 60-minute line here for this game would be, see if you get a little better value on Ottawa at minus 125. Yes, but I think at the end of the day, that's just going to be a stay away from me overall. We'll see what Nephew Dave has. He will send me some picks here shortly. Dallas at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will host Edmonton in a really, really good game. Minus 120 for Dallas, over under 6.5. Both of these teams are prolific on the offensive side of things. And as far as allowing goals, both of them have been, for the most part, better defensively. Dallas has always been good defensively, but Edmonton is surprisingly good defensively. But a tougher match against a team like the Stars, who've scored 205 goals overall. So I would expect this to be an over game. I think you can get it off on some team goals here either way. Let's see here. Edmonton team goals for them. I bet you they're both going to be right about 3.5, right? With the juice. Plus 114 for Edmonton, which is a good plus money, and even money for Dallas at over 3.5. But I think you could take an alternate goal over potentially in this one if you wanted to. Over 8.5 is plus 255. Over 9.5 is plus 560. If these teams can really light the lamp down in Dallas this afternoon. Let me get to every time I click back out, it's taking me to these college basketball lines. So let me get to a dedicated NHL page where when I click back, that doesn't happen. All right, let's see if this works now. Detroit and Calgary, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the Flames minus 138, over under 6.5. Detroit plus 115. Both of these teams struggling a hair. I've heard people make the case for Calgary to be a good second half team here, where Detroit's been, we were ahead of the curve on that one last year, talking about how Detroit could have a good season last season. And here they are this season playing very well, but they have lost 2 in a row now, have the Red Wings. And if we look at it like that, then our confidence can't be too high. Now, losers of 2 in a row are Calgary. So we just have 2 teams, both who could really use a win here, going against each other. And to me, this is more or less a no play. I don't think I can get off on anything goal-wise with these two either. Calgary is right about average in both marks of scoring and allowing goals. Detroit's been more of an over team, so maybe a lean on the over since Calgary is at home and they should get a better effort there. Detroit able to handle things a little bit better on the road. So over 6.5 would be a slight lean here, potentially with the Red Wings and the Flames. A good game at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time down in Florida with the Panthers and the Lightning. The Panthers a slight favorite, minus 130 at Tampa Bay, over under 6.5 here. Now, both of these teams have been pretty good here, scoring goals. So we're going to look at an over scenario here. And Tampa Bay does allow a lot of goals. You got to imagine they'll have a good offensive output at home. Both of these teams are streaking red hot as well. The Panthers will likely have Bob Vrosky in net, but you got to figure Tampa will get some goals at home in this rivalry game. This is a fun one to watch if you have nothing to do at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get the Panthers and the Lightning on. But I think this is one of the better plays for an over right here, 6.5 with the Panthers and the Lightning. I would not be shocked to see this be like a 5-4 game, even 5-5, and let's get this thing to overtime, something like that. Over 8.5 goals is plus 350. That's a great price. To get to 10 goals is plus 800 for, again, here we go. We're popping out of our lines and we're going right back to college basketball. So let's make sure this doesn't happen anymore. Okay. Now we should be good. So over 6.5, I think is very fair. And I think you can get an alternate over as well with the Panthers and the Lightning. The Blues have been hot. The Predators struggling a little bit. Minus 113 at home for the Blues. That sounds a little cheap to me, to be honest, considering the form of both of these teams right now. 3-6-1 in their last 10 are Nashville. 8-2 for the Blues, who are ahead of Nashville in the standings in the Central. Both of these teams separating by 4 points. I mean, you got to give the edge to St. Louis at home. I mean, that's a cheap number. You're going to get a good price on the puck line. Minus 1.5 is plus 210 as well to win in 60 minutes. For the Blues is plus 135. So there's some good opportunity as well. Team goals wise, over 3.5 for the Blues is plus 128. And for Nashville, over 3.5 is at plus 138. I would trust the Blues at home here, just because of the recent form and at this 5 o'clock awkward Eastern Standard Time face-off, kind of a twilight matinee. I think they can just fare well at home. So give me the Blues over Nashville, and what isn't a very long travel trip for Nashville overall. But the Blues, I like the price here on them at home. The Wild have been hot. The Sabres struggling, and the Wild will have the home ice advantage here. Again, they won 4 in a row. Really trying to make a charge at the standings here. They have 55 points, so they're still right in the thick of things overall. So a huge game in regards for them. Where Buffalo, they've been 500 hockey here in their last 10, but their stats just don't pop out. They've been actually better on the road than they have been at home. 11 wins in regulation, 11 losses in regulation, 3 overtime losses on top of that. So the Sabres just not having as good of a season here. So we probably lean on the Wild just being the hotter team, minus 144 for them. I wouldn't want to get too exotic here on any kind of goal props or nothing. But I think it's straight minus 144. If you need to throw Minnesota into something, you can do that as a dancing partner, as we say. The total goals for the Sabres at 2.5 is minus 150 to the over, and plus 104 for over 3.5 Wild goals. So we'll lean with the Wild, just the game line, minus 144 in this one. Two struggling teams with the Capitals and the Canadiens. The Caps a minus 120 favorite on the road. Over under is at 5.5. Now, the Canadiens have allowed 1 million goals. So this seems like a low over-under. They've only scored 154, but they have allowed 194. And the Caps have allowed 164, which is right about average, and they've only scored 127. You got to think, if your offense is going to have any sort of life, it's got to come against a team like the Canadiens on the road. A little bit of a rivalry here as well. I think the Canadiens did win their last time out in D.C. So 5.5 seems a little low in that regard. Maybe you just get a better effort from the Capitals overall here. I'd be interested in the Capitals team goals. I mean, they just haven't scored a lot at all. Over 3.5 for the Caps is plus 134 today. Over 2.5 for the Canadiens is at minus 158. Maybe just a stab at the over 5.5. They could just get there. If it's a 3-2 game and you get an empty netter, that's going to get you home. But probably better plays on the board at the end of the day. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is that face-off. Another 7 o'clock game with Anaheim and Toronto. Again, Toronto's banged up, but Anaheim's been terrible. Toronto, a big favorite at home, minus 280. Over-under is at 6.5. As far as the splits go, again, on Anaheim, just 137 scored, 181 allowed. Toronto, 184 scored, 166 allowed. You have to favor Toronto here on some sort of a puck line, I think, just to have a good game at home against Anaheim, a team that just hasn't been very well at all. So we'll take a look at an alternate puck line here, potentially with Toronto, minus 2.5, plus 144, minus 3.5 is at plus 340. You would think Toronto could get home to a fairly easy win in this situation overall. Let's see, 4 more games to go through. New Jersey, Pennsylvania border war here at the Flyers and the Devils. The Flyers plus 114, Devils minus 137. Over under is 6.5 in this one. The Devils, they've been a dead over team, scoring 177, allowing 182. And the Flyers have been a little bit stingier, right? Yeah, they've scored 164, allowing just 159, and they are the better team right now in the points race by 11 over the Devils. Actually, by 7 points over the Devils, as these teams separated by 1 spot here in the Metro. But they're both of their form is the same, 4-5-1 in their last 10. I think this is a no play at the end of the day, to be honest, because I could just see this going any kind of way, over or under Philly or the Devils. So we'll just stay away from that. If you want to look at the team goals here, though, we do have some goalies listed, right? Yeah, we have Ersson and Nico Dow's listed here in goal. That's the first goalies I've seen listed on this Saturday morning show, and it's for the Devils Flyers night game. Let's see. Philly total goals here is at over 2.5, minus 154. Over 3.5 is at plus 110 for the Devil total goals. All right, so no play for me at the end of the day for this 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. And then we have a late slate. We got 3 night games to round it out. Late night on the West Coast, the first of which the Jets and the Canucks. Minus 128 for the Canucks. Over under is at 5.5. I think you have to give the edge to the Canucks here just because they've been so hot. But Winnipeg's been very, very good too. So this is a very good hockey game, late night. If you have the chance, when I said watch the Lightning and the Panthers game for a fun game, and even that Stars-Oilers game is going to be a really fun game potentially as well. I would say this is going to be the same thing for this one with the Jets and Canucks. Maybe a must-watch scenario if you have nothing really to do late night and you're trying to get some action down. Team goals here. Let's see here. Winnipeg total goals over 2.5 -138. Over 2.5 for Vancouver is at -172. No goalies listed here, but you got to figure it's going to be Hellebuck for the Jets at least anyway. As far as the standing goes, both of these teams very, very stingy, not allowing goals. Vancouver, again, they've only allowed 142 on the season, and the Jets have allowed only 117. So this tells you that this should be a die-hard under game, but the offensive explosiveness at Vancouver can never be discounted either. So an under game for me, and more of a fun game overall. But yeah, pick your poison on what you really want to get involved with on this game. 5.5 seems low, but man, I would maybe just take a shot at that since this is going to be a I really could see this being a 2-1 hockey game. Very much a playoff type of atmosphere game, I would say, for this one as well. All right, late night with the Blue Jackets and the Sharks. Maybe some opportunity here on the Sharks. They have had some nice wins overall. They've had better wins than Columbus has, I think. That's for sure. San Jose can surprise you at times. Excuse me. And they are 5-3-2 in their last 10, so it's not like they're completely bad, where Columbus 3-6-1 in their last 10 for them. San Jose is an underdog at home, so you got to like that. And if you just want to take a shot at them on the alt line here, and they covered a big one at Calgary the other night, and they put up 7 goals, at least by the time I stopped paying attention to it. An alternate puck line here, you're going to get paid nicely if the Sharks can somehow win this game by a couple of goals. Plus 250 -1.5, plus 430 for -2.5, and 10-1 odds if you think the Sharks can roll the Blue Jackets at home. I think there's actually a chance for that, to be honest. So I will lean on San Jose here at a plus price, at least on the straight line. To win in regulation for San Jose is plus 165 today, so that's not the worst play in the universe either. Let's see what we get on a goal line for San Jose, because I think it's going to be a 2.5 minus, over 2.5 minus 160 for them, over 3.5 plus 112 for Columbus. I will not take anything Columbus in here, and I will lean San Jose. And the last game on the slate for tonight are the Hurricanes and Golden Knights. Now, maybe a little bit better game if Carolina wasn't coming off the back-to-back, but they were impressive in victory last night in Arizona. They'll take back to Vegas tonight. Vegas minus 115 over under 6.5. Another good late-night hockey game to get involved with. I would look at an over here. I think Vegas can score at home, and I think Carolina can get some goals on the road as well. So I'd lean over 6.5 on this one, and potentially a alternate total goal scenario as well. I think over 8.5 at plus 400 is fair game all day long. All right, so best bets on the board for me. Let's see here. I think I like more totals than sides overall, but we'll go back through the list. I would lean on Boston at home today to beat the Kings. I think you can take them in regulation as well. I would lean on the over Edmonton in the Dallas game. I would lean on the over in the Florida Tampa Bay game. I would lean over Detroit and Calgary as well, to be honest. But just a slight lean on that. I would lean on the Blues at home over the Predators. Minnesota just straight up minus 144. No need to get exotic there over the Sabres at home. I would lean with Toronto. I think that could be your blowout of the night. They can have the biggest margin of victory overall. Toronto over Anaheim. And I would lean with the Sharks at home. And I would lean with the over in the Golden Knights and Carolina Hurricanes as the late game tonight. Nephew Dave is going to pipe in as well. Let's see what he has. Nephew Dave's plays. All right, he likes the Senators on the puck line today. He also likes Tampa and the Florida Panthers over as well. And he likes the Jets and the Canucks to go under. How about that? So we mentioned all of those things. The one we didn't mention are the Senators, just afraid to play that with the big number. But Dave will jump on that, and then we both agree on both of those totals with Florida and the Jets. Okay, let's go ahead and throw someone in the penalty box. What do we have here? And then we'll look for a goal scorer for today as well. So we'll go ahead and queue up our referees.
You're trying to switch 7 guys, Mike. Come on. You can't do that. Dallas Belly number 10, 2 minutes broken. I got 82. Tampa tripping.
All right, let's see if we can think of someone obscure to throw in the penalty box here. Let's be wary. Let's be wary of the good old Nashville Predators. They've been struggling a little bit. Tough chance on the road today at St. Louis. Maybe skating up ice all day. The Predators have been cold. So we'll go ahead and stick them in a penalty box. Pay attention to them. Perhaps they might go on some sort of a slide here in the next week or so. We'll evaluate that next show, how they did this past week. Coming up, if that makes sense. So we'll go ahead and throw the Predators in the penalty box. Let's go ahead and sound our horn for a goal scorer. Let's see who I can give you today. Let's go ahead and pick someone out on Toronto here. Let's go ahead and take Austin Matthews. All right, look for Austin Matthews to have a nice game. He's a favorite for a goal tonight, minus 155. To get 2 goals for Matthews today is at plus 390. So we'll take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews, for our goal scorer today. All right, guys, that will wrap it up for What the Puck is Going On. Until next Saturday, good luck.
What the puck is going on?